Chosen one, stop scrolling. Don't move. Don't rush past this moment like it's another video on your feed. Something in your spirit paused you here, and that pause is not accidental, it is divine interception. The Holy Spirit is stepping into your timeline because you were about to make a decision that felt small to you, but carried huge spiritual consequences. And the Lord said, "Tell them to listen. Tell them to breathe. Tell them this message is their protection." You felt that tightening in your chest, didn't you? That sudden stillness? That unexplainable awareness that this message is not random? That's because this is not content. This is a warning from heaven. A shield disguised as a video. A rescue disguised as a message. A divine interception disguised as just another scroll. But God said, "This is the moment I stop them from walking into something that looks right but leads to spiritual danger." For days now, something's been tugging at your mind. A decision you've been considering. A step you've been debating. A person you've been thinking of letting back into your life. An old comfort you've been tempted to revisit. Something you almost convinced yourself was harmless. Something you almost said, "Maybe this is God opening a door." But deep down you felt that little sting of uncertainty. That spiritual uneasiness. That hesitation that didn't go away no matter how much you tried to reason with it. That wasn't anxiety, that was God protecting you. Comment: "Lord, speak to me," if this is already touching your spirit. Because hear this clearly. You are in a season where the enemy cannot destroy you directly anymore. He knows your discernment has grown. He knows your spirit has matured. He knows your mind is stronger. So he switched strategies. He stopped attacking you with chaos and started seducing you with comfort. He stopped attacking your weaknesses and started using your memories. He stopped trying to shake you and instead tried to appeal to your emotions. The Lord said, "Tell my child, this move looks right, but it is not me. It looks peaceful, but it is not godly peace. It looks familiar, but it is not spiritually safe. It looks convenient, but it is not aligned. This is not the devil coming with horns, this is him coming with options. Options that look innocent. Options that look easy. Options that look like relief. But heaven is waving a red flag saying, don't do it. Not now. Not yet. Not this way. Chosen one, this message is heaven grabbing your wrist saying, if you take that step, you will delay what I've been preparing for you. Stay still. Stay wise. Stay aligned. There is something in front of you right now that feels like relief, and that's exactly why it's dangerous. It feels like a breath of fresh air after a long season of waiting, fighting, and carrying weight alone. It feels like, finally, something is opening up. Finally, something is shifting. Finally, something is moving. But the Lord is revealing that this something is not a blessing, it is a baited invitation. A doorway that looks like peace on the outside but carries spiritual contamination on the inside. The enemy knows how tired your heart has been. He knows the pressure you've carried silently. He knows the loneliness you tried to pray your way through. And he knows if he can't break you with storms anymore, he can tempt you with false calm. He watched you survive the attack. He watched you outgrow the trauma. He watched you rebuild your self-worth. And now, seeing he can no longer defeat you with darkness, he is presenting a counterfeit that looks like light. This is why what's in front of you feels familiar. It reminds you of a season when you didn't know better. It reminds you of the version of yourself that tolerated more than your spirit could handle. It reminds you of the days you settled because you hadn't tasted what God could truly do. But now you've grown, and that familiarity is the danger. Because anything familiar can feel safe, even if it's toxic. Anything familiar can feel right, even if it's wrong. Anything familiar can feel like an answered prayer, even if it's the enemy recycling your past. You've been tempted to reopen a door that God Himself sealed. You've thought about revisiting a connection that drained you. You've reconsidered returning to an environment that suffocated your spirit. And it's not because you're weak. It's because the enemy strategically wrapped the trap in peace. He made it look gentle. He made it look harmless. He made it look like the easy way out. But the Holy Spirit is exposing it for what it really is. A detour disguised as comfort, a delay disguised as safety, a bondage disguised as an opportunity. You have to understand this. Not every open door is divine. Some doors are not blessings, they are back doors. Back doors to old habits, old cycles, old heartbreaks, old patterns God delivered you from. And the reason this particular temptation feels so subtle is because the enemy studied you. He learned your emotional rhythms. He discovered the exact moments your faith dips and your hope wavers. He noticed when you're most vulnerable, and he presented the trap right on schedule. But here's the truth heaven needs you to grasp. Peace that pulls you backward is not God's peace. Familiarity that lowers your standards is not God's plan. Opportunities that require you to shrink, dim your soul, or silence your spirit are not God's gifts. Anything that asks you to undo your growth is not from the Father. Anything that tugs you toward who you used to be is not aligned with who you are becoming. Anything that costs you your spiritual boundaries is too expensive, no matter how comforting it feels in the moment. This is why God is slowing you down. Why the hesitation won't leave. Why your spirit feels unsettled even though your emotions want to say yes. It's because he sees the trap behind the door, and he loves you too much to let you walk into it blindly. He is whispering, "Wait. Pause. Look again. This is not me." You've been praying, "Lord, give me a sign." And because heaven hasn't responded loudly, you started to wonder if silence meant permission. But divine silence is not divine approval. When God is quiet, it is rarely because he is saying, "Yes." Often, his silence is a call to stillness, because the next step you're considering carries more spiritual weight than you realize. Stillness is God's protective barrier, his way of keeping you from rushing into something that looks harmless but carries long-term consequences. You have grown in discernment, and that growth is exactly why he is quiet right now. Not because he is distant, but because you're stronger. Stronger than you were last year. Stronger than you were in that last season of confusion. Now, instead of spoon-feeding you answers, he is developing your inner knowing. He is teaching you how to sense danger without him having to shake the earth to warn you. This silence is not neglect, it's maturity training. Deep down, you already know this isn't the right move. There's a subtle unrest inside you. A heaviness in your spirit whenever you picture taking that step. A strange tension between what your mind wants and what your spirit refuses to agree with. That internal conflict isn't indecision, it's divine protection. It's the Holy Spirit refusing to grant peace because the path ahead is not aligned with your assignment. You've tried to rationalize it. You've told yourself, "Maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe I'm just afraid. Maybe this is just my emotions." But there is a difference between fear and a spiritual check. Fear makes you run from what you're called to. A spiritual check stops you from walking into something that is not meant for you. If you were truly meant to step into this, the peace of God would be settling over your spirit, not this tightness, not this hesitation, not this sense that something feels slightly off, even if you can't explain why. The Lord is saying, "You're not confused, you're being cautioned." This is not the season to make emotionally driven decisions. This is not the time to chase convenience. This is the moment to protect what God has cultivated within you. You may not see the full picture right now, but heaven sees the trap that's hidden behind the opportunity. God sees the heartbreak behind the nostalgia. He sees the spiritual warfare behind the familiar face. He sees the wasted time hiding inside the tempting shortcut. You've come too far to step back into a chapter that God already closed. You've healed too much to reopen what once wounded you. You've matured too deeply to re-enter a place that can no longer hold the upgraded version of who you are. This silence is God's way of gently blocking you without alarming you. He is saying, "If you wait, even just a little longer, I will show you exactly why I didn't let you move." You are being positioned for something that requires your full alignment, your full strength, your full clarity, your full obedience. And anything that compromises that is being spiritually flagged. You are not missing a green light. You are being divinely prevented from walking into a counterfeit that would drain your momentum and delay your promise. This is not confusion. This is covering. This is grace disguised as hesitation. This is God whispering, "Stay still. I am protecting what I am preparing." The enemy doesn't come to you with chaos anymore. He knows you've learned how to rebuke storms. He knows you've learned how to pray through pain. He knows you've learned how to endure spiritual warfare without collapsing. So instead of attacking you with the obvious, he has upgraded his strategy. He is coming in ways that feel calm, safe, familiar, and deceptively reasonable. He is disguising himself as the solution to your weariness, the answer to your waiting, the relief to your pressure. This is not the same level of battle you faced years ago. Back then, he fought you with noise. Now, he fights you with silence. Back then, he fought you with conflict. Now, he fights you with comfort. Back then, he fought you with obvious temptation. Now, he fights you with options that look wise on the surface but pull you out of alignment underneath. This is why discernment is your most powerful weapon in this season. He knows you are too spiritually awakened to fall for darkness, so he imitates light. He uses the face of someone you trust. He uses the voice of someone familiar. He uses doors that resemble opportunities you used to pray for. He studies the patterns you've broken, then tries to reintroduce them in gentler forms so you don't recognize the trap. It is deception through subtlety, warfare through convenience. The Lord is revealing that you are being targeted because of your strength, not your weakness. Your obedience threatens hell. Your growth destabilizes what once held you. Your healing has made you spiritually expensive, too expensive for low-level attacks. So the enemy has resorted to counterfeit alignment, counterfeit connections, counterfeit clarity. Anything to pull you out of the timing God has ordained for your next breakthrough. He wants to distract you just enough so you miss the window God is opening. He wants to occupy your mind just enough so your discernment feels foggy. He wants to lure you toward a path that seems easier so you forget that every shortcut is a spiritual setup. Shortcuts to relationships. Shortcuts to security. Shortcuts to emotional relief. But every shortcut leads you away from the process that shapes your calling. Every shortcut removes the character God is building within you. Every shortcut steals a piece of the destiny you fought too hard to protect. This is why your spirit has been sensitive lately. Why small things feel heavy. Why slight shifts feel significant. You're not imagining it. Your discernment has sharpened. You can sense deception without seeing it. You can feel danger without touching it. You can detect misalignment even when everything looks peaceful on the outside. That inner tension is not paranoia, it is training. Training for the level God is preparing you for. Training for the influence you're stepping into. Training for the purpose you are about to walk in. And right now, heaven is revealing the strategy of the enemy so you won't confuse a trap for a blessing. You won't confuse a distraction for destiny. You won't confuse a familiar voice for God's voice. This is spiritual intelligence being handed to you because the next season of your life requires precision. Right now, there is a war inside you, a quiet but powerful tug-of-war between who you used to be and who God is transforming you into. This isn't a battle of good versus evil the way it once was. This is a battle of identity, your old identity pulling from one side, your healed identity pulling from the other. Your old self craves what feels familiar, predictable, emotionally comfortable. Your new self longs for what aligns with your calling, your growth, your spiritual maturity. And that internal tension is not a sign that something is wrong, it is a sign that something is evolving. Your old wounds still whisper from time to time. They whisper memories of comfort. They whisper reminders of times when you didn't have to think so deeply or guard yourself so strongly. But your healed self is speaking louder now. It's telling you that you cannot carry old coping mechanisms into a future God designed to be pure, purposeful, and elevated. Growth has created a gap between who you were and who you are becoming, and that gap feels like confusion only because you are stepping into unfamiliar spiritual territory. There are days you feel the urge to return to something just because it feels easier than waiting on God. There are moments when nostalgia plays tricks on you, making old places appear softer than they really were, making old relationships seem safer than the reality of what they cost you. But nostalgia is not truth, it is memory filtered through loneliness. And loneliness is one of the most powerful tools the enemy uses to pull a chosen one backward. He reminds you of what used to comfort you, but never reminds you of what it cost you. You've come too far to shrink back now. You've shed layers, survived battles, healed wounds, and matured spiritually in ways you don't even fully recognize yet. But heaven recognizes it. Heaven sees how much you've changed, and that transformation is why the enemy is trying so hard to reintroduce the past. Not because the past has power, but because you now have power that the past cannot survive. Your old self wanted closure. Your healed self wants alignment. Your old self wanted affection, even if it came from the wrong source. Your healed self wants peace, even if it means walking alone for a season. Your old self wanted to feel seen. Your healed self wants to be chosen by God's timing, not people's convenience. And that shift, that inner evolution, that spiritual maturity is making hell nervous. The Lord is saying that the tension you feel is the stretching of your destiny. You are outgrowing patterns that were once normal to you. You are breaking generational behaviors that ran in your family for decades. You are walking away from cycles that were disguised as personality traits. And transformation, real transformation, always feels uncomfortable before it feels clear. This is a defining moment in your spiritual journey. You are choosing purpose over patterns. You are choosing destiny over distraction. You are choosing the unknown future God prepared for you over the familiar past the enemy keeps baiting you with. Your spirit is awakening to the truth that peace is not found in what is easy, it is found in what is aligned. And alignment rarely comes without sacrifice. The Lord is revealing that if you wait, if you stay anchored, if you resist the pull of what looks easy, He will show you exactly why He said, "Don't do it." Because what's coming is so much bigger than what's trying to call you back. You are standing in a spiritual moment where heaven is rearranging things on your behalf, even in the areas where you think nothing is happening. The silence has not been inactivity, it has been construction. God has been building something for you behind the scenes, something that requires your full readiness and your full obedience. The blessing that's about to enter your life is weighty with purpose, responsibility, legacy, and divine timing. It is not a small breakthrough, it is not a temporary relief, it is not a surface-level uplift. This is the kind of shift that alters the rest of your life. And anything that jeopardizes it, anything that distracts you, delays you, drains you, or diminishes you, heaven is refusing to let it near your future. That is why the pressure has increased. That is why the temptation has intensified. That is why old doors have resurfaced right before the new door opens. The enemy always releases a counterfeit right before God releases the real thing. It is spiritual law. Before the right person enters, the wrong one appears with perfectly timed familiarity. Before the true assignment comes, a distraction masquerading as an easier option shows up. Before the blessing manifests, the enemy presents a shortcut that looks peaceful but costs your purpose. He does this because he cannot stop what God is sending. He can only try to get you out of position before it arrives. But God is dismantling the counterfeit by exposing its timing. He is showing you that anything requiring you to rush, settle, or act from emotion is not Him. Blessings from God align effortlessly with your spirit, not forcefully with your feelings. They bring clarity, not fog. They bring peace, not pressure. They bring confirmation, not confusion. They bring growth, not regression. And right now, heaven is highlighting the difference so you don't mistake a distraction for a destiny door. What is coming to you is going to make you grateful for every delay you endured, every closed door that frustrated you, every, not now, that felt like rejection. Because soon you will understand that those were not disappointments. They were divine protections. You will look back and realize God wasn't punishing you. He was preserving you. He wasn't withholding. He was preparing. He wasn't ignoring your prayers. He was aligning the pieces so the blessing would be sustainable, not fragile. There will come a moment, soon, when you will say, "Thank God I didn't go back. Thank God I didn't say yes. Thank God I waited." And in that moment, Every temptation will make sense. Every hesitation will make sense. Every spiritual warning will make sense. You will understand that God didn't ask you to avoid this move to limit your life. He did it to save your destiny. Chosen one, hear this final prophetic word with the full weight of heaven behind it. God is redirecting your steps away from danger and toward destiny, even in ways that feel inconvenient to your emotions. This is not a season where you get to rely on what looks logical. This is a season where you must rely on what feels spiritual, because your next chapter is too important, too delicate, too heaven-orchestrated for you to move by sight alone. What God is doing in your life now is sacred, intentional, and deeply protective. And anything that threatens your alignment, even if it appears harmless, will not be allowed to remain. You are being repositioned, not punished. You are being shielded, not restricted. You are being purified, not abandoned. Your path is narrowing because your purpose is expanding. Your circle is shrinking because your influence is growing. Your discernment is increasing because your assignment is elevating. Everything happening right now is a sign that heaven is preparing you for something you cannot walk into casually or unguarded. And hear this clearly. You will not fall into the trap. You will not wander into the wrong door. You will not drift back into cycles God liberated you from. Your spirit is too awakened. Your calling is too loud. Your destiny is too marked. Even if your emotions falter, your spirit will not let you make the wrong move. God is surrounding you with invisible barriers, barriers you may not see, but you will feel. Barriers that protect you even when you're tempted by convenience or pulled by old attachments. You are stepping into a season where clarity will come suddenly, where the fog you've been living in will lift, where the reasons behind God's warnings will become painfully, beautifully clear. There will be a day when you look back and say, "Lord, thank you for blocking that door. I didn't know what was behind it, but you did." And that understanding will humble you, strengthen you, and deepen your trust in a God who sees beyond your emotions and shields you from what your heart cannot discern. Because you were not designed for an ordinary life. You were not created to settle. You were not chosen just to survive. You were chosen to walk in purpose, to shift atmospheres, to carry light, to be a vessel of transformation to others. And people with purpose cannot afford careless decisions. People with destiny cannot entertain distractions. People with calling cannot go back to comfort. Your life is not small. Your future is not random. Your steps are not accidental. Heaven is treating you like royalty because in the spiritual realm, that is exactly what you are. So here is the prophetic declaration spoken over your life. You will walk in wisdom. You will walk in clarity. You will walk in supernatural protection. You will walk in alignment with God's perfect timing. Every counterfeit will be exposed before it reaches you. Every distraction will lose its power. Every trap will be revealed before you take a step. Every, almost, sent by the enemy will crumble before it can touch you. The peace of God will guard your heart. The voice of God will guide your decisions. And the hand of God will pull you away from every pathway that was never meant for your feet. As you move forward, carry this truth with you. Nothing lost in obedience will ever be missing in destiny. Everything God asks you to walk away from is making space for something greater. Every no you give today protects the yes God is preparing for your tomorrow. If this word resonated with your spirit, stay connected, stay aligned, and stay sensitive to what heaven is doing in your life. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss future prophetic messages. And if you ever feel led, you can use the super thanks or donation link to support this ministry. Never required, always received with gratitude. God bless you, chosen one. Your next chapter is God written, God protected, and heaven backed. Walk boldly. Walk wisely. Walk covered.